my name's Sonya and I'm here today reporting on behalf of Leeds Student Television. I am in Briggate in Leeds City Centre, where I am here today with Fee, who's one of the organisers of the Just Stop Oil Against Rosebank protest. Fee, I got my words muddled up then, so do you want to tell us what is happening here today?
Yeah, so more specifically, I'm from the Stop Rosebank Coalition, and we're here today because the UK government just last Wednesday, 9 days ago, approved the really controversial Rosebank oil field. And the reason it's controversial is it's because it's the biggest undeveloped North Sea oil and gas field. It's absolutely huge. It's a completely climate-wrecking project. It's not in line with any climate commitments. We've been told we can't have any new oil and gas if we want a livable future, but they're going ahead with this and saying, it'll help with energy bills, it'll help with the cost of living crisis, but it's not going to do either of these things because it's owned by a Norwegian oil giant called Equinor. And essentially the way that it works, very simply, is that kind of oil and gas sold on a global market, not owned by the UK itself. And this Norwegian oil giant Equinor will make millions, they'll get all the profits, we won't see any of it, but billions of public money will go into building this field. So if anything, it's going to make our cost of living crisis worse. It's also not energy that's going to last into the future. So again, with the energy crisis, that's going to be making it worse. We need to invest in genuine renewables, not these kind of like climate-wrecking projects. And when I say Rosebank is huge, it's 3 times bigger than Cambo, which is, I don't know if people remember, but Stop Cambo was a campaign that happened where we stopped the Cambo oil field, or paused it, back in 2021. Whereas Rosebank is 3 times as big. Its emissions will be equal to the annual CO2 emissions of the 28 lowest income countries combined. That's 700 million people in the global south. And as a country, we have a historic responsibility to use our wealth, which was largely accumulated through exploiting these countries who have contributed least to the climate crisis, are being most affected. We have a historic responsibility to use that wealth to finance a just and fair transition, both here and abroad, that supports oil and gas workers. We don't want to leave them out. This is also about workers, and transitions us to a future that is based on renewable energy, not more climate wrecking at the expense of people like us, just people who just want to pay their energy bills and have a livable future.
At a rally to stop Rosebank. So Rosebank is the biggest untapped oil and gas field in the North Sea, and it's going to emit so much carbon dioxide and already burning planet, and we're here to rally against it because it's unacceptable.
And how are you planning to achieve that?
Well, we are part of Just Stop Oil, and we will achieve that by entering into mass civil resistance against our government this autumn by going down to London and marching in the road and staying in the road when they come and they try and arrest us. And it's really scary, but civil resistance works, and we've seen it before and we will see it again, and that's how we're going to win.
We're in Leeds City Centre currently, and I'm with
Rosie.
Now there's a Just Stop Oil protest going on behind us. Tell us what's happening.
Well, it's a group of us from many different groups. We're here to protest against Rosebank oil field, which is the largest undeveloped oil field in the North Sea, which the government have just announced is going to go ahead. It's going to do nothing to lower people's bills, which they are telling people that it will. They're lying. And most importantly, it's going to blow through all our climate commitments. We are seeing devastating impacts around the world at the moment. We're at 1.3 degrees. Things are getting much, much hotter. We're going to probably fly past 1.5, and committing to oil fields like this are going to blow everything out the water, and it's really terrifying.
What are you hoping to achieve today with this protest?
We are hoping to achieve raising awareness amongst the general public of what Rosebank is and why it must be stopped.
What's brought you out here today?
So the reason I'm here today is because we have Rosebank, one of the biggest new oil and gas developments. It's been approved by the government, and they're saying it's going to help us with our energy costs, but this is not the time for new oil and gas. We are in a climate crisis and action needs to be taken.
Yeah. So what would you say to Rishi Sunak, who's obviously scaling back net zero targets at the moment? What's your response to that?
Not just Rishi Sunak, to Keir Starmer as well. Sunak and Starmer are failing to take the climate crisis seriously. So where Sunak is approving these new oil and gas developments like Rosebank and scaling back our targets, he is essentially throwing us under the bus. But what's worse is that Keir Starmer, who's meant to be the leader of the opposition, opposing and offering radical change, has said he's not going to revoke any new oil and gas licences. It's frankly reckless, it's climate vandalism, and when we are on a planet that's burning, when we've got flash floods and forest fires happening even this week, we can't afford to be complacent and we need action.
And have you received any backlash, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen, but we've received a lot of backlash, yeah. It can be really difficult, people don't like people that disrupt the status quo, we're being disruptive and it's frustrating, it's disruption, by definition it is frustrating. But that's because we've stood on the pavement and protested for decades. We stood on the pavement and we've written to our politicians and we've voted and we've, done things like this rally. And frankly, they don't work, which is why we get in the road. And it's annoying. And I've marched and I've been shoved to the ground and I've been pushed and I've done other actions. You get shouted at, you get told to get a job, get a life, all this kind of stuff. But, the suffragettes got backlash, civil rights movement's got backlash. We're not here to be popular, we're here to try and salvage a livable planet, which isn't too much to ask for.
For you this morning, the BBC reported that 2023 is looking to be the hottest year to date, and also we're surpassing the 1.5 degree mark globally. That's a bit of a warning sign for climate change. Why do you think that people are not necessarily taking climate change as seriously as they should be?
I think a lot of it is based on distraction techniques. The media and the rhetoric that's being driven by the UK government isn't largely about the climate crisis. They're saying, it's going to help you with your energy bills, and it's going to help with the cost of living crisis, which is largely something they helped create. And instead they're using distraction techniques with culture wars, they're attacking refugees, they're attacking trans people, all whilst in the background they're approving these massive oil and gas fields. People are not telling the truth. The media is not telling the truth largely. A lot of it is owned by billionaires or is influenced by politicians. We recently heard, I think it was Ed Balls on a new podcast, talk about how he had a dinner with the Sun just before Labour Party conference, their last one, when they were still in power. Labour, the Tories, lots of kind of these politicians with the media are just not really telling us the facts.
Okay, and so obviously Rishi Sunak, anti-Keir Starmer, what would the Green Party do differently?
Well, the Green Party understands very importantly that we're not going to get climate justice without social justice, without racial justice, economic justice, to borrow the words from our wonderful Deputy Leader, Zach Polanski. But we also understand the solutions to the climate crisis are the solutions to the cost of living crisis. So take insulation, for example. If we insulated every home that needs it, we bring down energy costs, but that also works better for the planet. And it's all linked together. So if you look at all the other issues in liberation, such as trans rights, trans people are under attack from the UK government at the moment, and we understand that on our planet, if it's not there, we don't have pride, we don't have trans liberation. It's all linked together so intrinsically.
Brilliant. What would you say to people, and there's been a few people that have said similar things to this today, that climate change protesters are alienating themselves by being too disruptive. What would you say to that?
Well, disruption works. Look at history, look at the Stonewall riots, look at what the suffragettes did. If history teaches us anything, it's that disruption works, and it's an indictment on our society and our system that's the only way we can make change. And people want to feel that they can put their 2 pence in and they can make a difference. But at the moment, the only way that we do that is by kicking up a stink, by making a fuss and sitting in the road, disrupting day-to-day lives. And it's just not right, but it's what you've got to do. And when we're so worried about the planet, this is the action we have to take.
Okay, brilliant. Finally, one word to describe the current UK government?
Vandals.
Thank you, Fu. Also, another question I have is Just Stop Oil on the whole. When you look at their methods or approach in protesting, politicians and general members of the public have been quite critical of those. So things like, barricading the roads, going into theatres and stopping performances. There was one at Les Mis recently. Politicians have said that maybe Just Stop Oil should try a different approach to protesting. If Just Stop Oil were to try a different approach, what do you think that would look like?
I think what politicians are maybe not telling people is we have tried different approaches. We've tried different approaches for years. We've petitioned, we've emailed our MPs, we've held held demos like this. I've been involved with climate organising for years, and we've tried so many different tactics and methods. And when people are feeling desperate because they're seeing the science, they're seeing the facts, and they're going, what on earth can we do about this? Everything we've tried so far has failed. It's no surprise that people are taking drastic action because we're in a drastic situation. So I look at groups like Just Stop Oil, and I can kind of understand why they're taking that kind of action, because they're doing whatever they can to bring attention to this issue that politicians and the media aren't bringing enough attention to. And I think this idea that we can just try different tactics really just ignores the facts, which is we have tried different tactics. And criminalising those that are protesting is not going to solve the climate crisis. Protest is a fundamental part of our democracy. We're in a system where we have a limited number of parties, and we've got to use our voice to kind of show politicians what we want to do, what we want from them. And if we're saying, hey, we don't want you to open new oil and gas fields, there's various ways we can do that. Protest is one of them. It shows politicians that this is an issue we really care about. We're really passionate about this. We're really scared about this, especially as young people, in the case of the majority of Just Stop Oil being young people. And I think that in itself should send a message to politicians, to the general public, and go, actually, why are these young people out on the streets? Maybe there is a reason, and have a look at that instead of saying, oh, can you do something else, please? Like, we're a bit tired of this. Maybe they're tired of it because the government's not doing anything about it. So yeah, I can understand why they're using those tactics.
Fee, thank you so much. It's been great to get an insight into Just Stop Oil and the protests today. Sonya Kay reporting for LSTV.